council can work together in harmony to increase affordable low-income housing in Salt Lake City. So in closing, I'd just like to encourage the mayor and the city council to work together to stop the bleeding and to go big in working on the housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Andrew Riggle, followed by George Chapman.
Good evening, council members. My name is Andrew Riggle. I'm with the Disability Law Center, and just wanted to provide a few points of feedback on the housing plan. And the first comes from personal experience, and that is, as I've been looking at the possibility of buying a home or a condo, I've noticed that most of what we are building today and are loft-style condos or townhomes with the bedrooms almost exclusively on the second floor. You might be able to figure out why that's a bit of a problem. The city has so little accessible housing. The question is why aren't we doing more as a city to actively encourage and incentivize the creation of more accessible housing? The second point is that even the increased emphasis on infill in the plan may not be enough to address this issue, as single-family homes, townhomes, row homes, and multifamily complexes with less than 4 units are not required to be accessible under federal law. It's going to take the city to work with developers to say this is something that we want to see. Our third comment is that the city you all can do something about this by incentivizing or requiring accessibility in the projects that you approve. For that reason, we also support the creation of a housing project advisory board to review and suggest improvements to proposed projects to better serve the diverse needs of the entire population.
Time.
And just briefly, in addition to that, we obviously support the continued exploration of inclusive zoning, and along with that, the RDA strategy's emphasis on mixed income development to make sure that everybody has access to opportunities and resources.
Thank you, Mr. Riggle.
Yeah.
If there's anything else, would you like to pass it on through a card, or?
Sure, I'll be happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Mr. George Chapman, followed by Matt Minkovich.
Okay, regarding housing and what you talked about today, you do not have any transit-rich neighborhoods. You don't. Andrew, Stan, Charlie, Lisa, buses in your neighborhood, transit in your neighborhood stops at 8:30. So you do not have transit-rich neighborhoods. And Derek and Aaron, your transit stops at midnight. You do not, and that's tracks in just a little part. So you don't have transit-rich neighborhoods, really. So you shouldn't be even thinking about reducing parking requirements, unfortunately. It'd be really nice if you threw in more transit, but we don't have it. The other concern I have is when you talk today about owner-occupied and getting a notarized signature of the owner saying they'll always be owner-occupied, I'm not sure if that's legally enforceable, and you should talk to Margaret and have her staff do a thorough analysis of that. If an owner spends $40,000 converting their basement and they die in a couple of years, I'm not sure if you can legally enforce owner-occupied on that structure. That's it. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Matt Minkovich, followed by George Rivera.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for entertaining the prospect of approving this thoughtful housing plan. In short, it's a good plan. There's a lot with which to work here. And I know that my teammates and I are very supportive of this. You're addressing zoning, the preservation of long-term affordable housing, which is incredibly important, the establishment of a funding source, that's also incredibly good, and of course, partnerships, equitability. This is a helpful, encouraging beginning. I use one measure. It's incredibly layman-like, but can a dishwasher in our community walk home from work and afford to live in the community where she's working? And there are the underpinnings here to create just that. When we have that kind of diversity in our community, what a great city we're going to be. We're going to realize our potential. I don't doubt for a moment that any of you are against this, that you're on board with that notion. And I want to wish you the best as you move forward in your deliberations. It's not going to be easy. You can get us there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Minkovich. George Rivera is next, and I don't have any more cards, so if anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand and one of the staff members can help you out. Go ahead, Mike.
My name is George Rivera, case manager and court liaison at First Step House. This is my first time leaving a public comment, so I'm really excited. I'm glad that it happens to be for the housing crisis. I'm kind of in a unique position where I get to see a lot of different individuals with different barriers to finding affordable housing. Many of them come from felony backgrounds or evictions, or they need to have at least 3 bedrooms in order to accommodate their family due to the standards of DCFS. And that presents a lot of concern for our guys because there aren't a lot of felon-friendly housing. Many times the appeals processes are too difficult. They might get a voucher through the housing assistance programs, but due to this lack of appeal process or even just felon-friendly housing, they aren't able to reunify their families and pull together their lives. The ones that are able to do it, however, have been upstanding citizens, and they're doing everything that they can to continue to do that and keep their families together. As we move forward, I think that's something that I would like to just keep in mind, that there might be something different that we could do or look at in order to make sure that that's no longer an issue.
Thank you very much. Betsy Ogden, your time has come.
I'm Betsy Ogden. I just wanted to ask you, because I'm on affordable housing right now, and I have been living really good because because I've got a roof over my head, and now I just need to see my friends get that, but they can't get that if they're going to be on the waiting list for housing, So right now she's living in a hole, or I don't know. She wants to be in the place where I'm living, but she's got to be on affordable housing. And I'm really thankful that we have this. So because everybody deserves affordable housing, and they also need affordable food, and not just any food, but they need to have the healthy food too. They can't just eat junk food every day. Got to have the good stuff. Okay, that's.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. That's the end of the cards I have. Is there anyone else who'd wish to speak on this topic? Okay, seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we close this public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Penfold, seconded by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And our second public hearing is a resolution regarding mosquito abatement district boundary adjustment, We'll accept public comment and consider approving a resolution declaring an intent to adjust the boundary of the mosquito abatement district to include more of Salt Lake City. I don't have any cards for this one. Is anyone who wishes to speak on this issue? Okay. Well, seeing none, I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the hearing and refer to November 28th for action.
Is there a second?
I second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Adams, second by Councilmember Penfold. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Before we move on to our third public hearing, I want to make a note for the record that item B12, grant application SB 277, bond proceeds transportation funding for 1300 East rehabilitation is pulled from this agenda. Therefore, our third public hearing will include only items B3 through B12 combined into one public hearing. I have one card, George Chapman. If anyone else would like to speak to this, please raise your hand and the council staff can help you get a card and get you up here. Mr. Chapman.
Unfortunately, probably nobody in this town understands you're going to destroy 13th East and make it a no man's land for a couple of years. That's one of the grant applications. And I have a concern that not enough people know about it, and there's not enough planning going into it. The grant application asks for federal funding or for funding for part of your project on gutter replacement and redoing 13th East. 13th East already is congested, especially during the school year. And there has to be a better way, because if you do what you're planning on doing, you're going to significantly increase air pollution. And I know all of you up there care about air pollution, right? So anything you can do now to discourage or help decrease air pollution and congestion in this project would be appreciated. Pushing the city to work mainly or reduce traffic lanes in the summer would be better. Keeping 2 traffic lanes open would be the best thing, but then you have to remove parking. And I don't think you've told anybody on that street, because they're not showing up at the public hearings on it. So I just want a lot more emphasis from you on the areas around 13th East, because this is a big, big, big project. It's going to go on for 2 years, and air pollution is going to increase through the roof because of it. Thanks for listening.
Mr. Chair, point of personal privilege.
Go ahead.
I just want to reemphasize that we did pull that grant application tonight, so that we're not acting on that one tonight, so there will be time to take that into consideration. So thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak on any of these grant applications tonight? Okay, I'll look for a motion then.
I move the council close the public hearing and refer these grants to a future meeting for action, except for grant B13.
B10.
No, B10.
B10.
It's actually, I believe it's actually 13.
B10
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
consent
it's
agenda.
13.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, 13.
I second.
And would you like, Lisa, do you want a friendly amendment on that?
I thought we were considering item B10 to consider for approval tonight.
I'll accept that as a friendly
For
amendment.
clarification, as a second,
So
we've
motion,
pulled item B13. We're moving B10 to the consent agenda for approval this evening.
that accurate?
That's acceptable to me as second. Okay.
Okay, so the motion is made by Councilmember Mendenhall, amended by Councilmember Adams, or just Adam? It's Mendenhall?
I think she accepted a
I
Accepted
friendly.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
and seconded by Councilmember Penfold. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. On to Potential action items. We have several potential action items scheduled under Section C. Item C1 is an ordinance regarding 21st and 21st Small Area Plan. The council will consider adopting an ordinance adopting the 21st and 21st Small Area Plan.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I move that the council adopt an ordinance adopting the 21st and 21st Neighborhood Plan, and I further move that the council change the language regarding drive-throughs on page 7 to drive-throughs are strongly discouraged and should not be allowed at all in front or corner side yards.
Is there a second? We have a motion by Councilmember Luke, a second by Councilmember Adams. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item C2, the council will consider adopting an ordinance amending various sections of Title 21A of the Salt Lake City Code and the zoning map pertaining to development of Salt Lake City's northwest quadrant. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending various sections of Title 21A of the Salt Lake City Code and the zoning map pertaining to development of Salt Lake City's northwest quadrant. I further move that large energy wind systems are removed from the table of potential uses in the northwest quadrant overlay area.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, seconded by Councilmember
Kitchen.
Kitchen. Excuse me. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Item C3 is an ordinance regarding Homeless Resource Center zoning text amendment. The council will consider adopting an ordinance amending various sections of Title 21A of the Salt Lake City Code pertaining to homeless resource centers. I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending various sections of Title 21A of the Salt Lake City Code pertaining to homeless resource centers. I further move that the following language be included in the final draft of the ordinance: 21A.36.350.A2A3, that quarterly meetings with the community coordinating group, which shall be open to the public, to discuss and address concerns and issues that may be occurring as a result of the homeless resource centers or homeless shelter operations. The meeting shall be advertised at least 10 days in advance by posting notice on the operator's website and a sign posted along the public street. I further move that the following changes to add homeless shelter be included into the final ordinance: 21.36.35.A.2.B, a complaint response community relations program that includes strategies and methods designed to maintain the premises in a clean and orderly condition, minimize potential conflicts with the owners or operators, and uses of neighboring property, and prohibit unlawful behavior by occupants of the homeless resource center or the homeless shelter on the site or adjacent public right-of-way. 21.36.35A.2.C, a provision requiring a representative of the homeless resource center or homeless shelter to meet with neighbors upon request to attempt to resolve any neighborhood complaints regarding operation of the center.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, seconded by Councilmember Mendenhall. Is there any discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. We are now on to item C4, an ordinance regarding 2200 West zoning map amendment and associated zoning text amendment. The council will consider adopting an ordinance amending the zoning of property located between 2200 West and I-215 and approximately between 200 North and 2040 North from Business Park to M1 Light Manufacturing, and amending the text of certain sections of Title 21A of the Salt Lake City Code.
Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance amending the zoning of properties located between 2200 West and I-215 and approximately 200 North and 2040 North from BP Business Park to M1 Light Manufacturing, and amending the text of certain sections of Title 21A pertaining to the M1 zoning district.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Lucas, second by Councilmember Kitchen. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. The next potential action item is item C5, an ordinance regarding rezone of 1144 West 500 South and 1111 West Arapahoe. The council will consider adopting an ordinance amending the zoning map pertaining to parcels located at 1144 West 500 South and 1111 West Arapahoe Street to rezone those parcels from open space to R1 5000 single-family residential. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt the ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Any discussion? I will add something then. These, for those who don't know, these parcels have been residential, but in the rezoning of 1995, it was an oversight that made them open space, even though people were still living on them and are still living on them today. So this cleans that up, so now they're back to residential again. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item C6 is ordinance regarding Regent Street signage overlay district. The council will consider adopting an ordinance amending various sections of Salt Lake City Code to create a signage overlay district on the block bounded by 200 South Street, State Street, 100 South Street, and Main Street, amending Chapter 21A.46. I'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Any second? Motion by Councilmember Luke, a second by Councilmember Pendenhall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Item C7 is an ordinance regarding Station Center area zoning map amendment. The council will consider adopting an ordinance amending the zoning map pertaining to several parcels located in an area bounded by 200 South, 500 West, 400 South, and the northwest and south boundaries of the parcel located at 300 South, 600 West Street to rezone those parcels from D3 Downtown Warehouse / Residential District and CG General Commercial District to GMU Gateway Mixed Use. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move the council adopt an ordinance rezoning the parcels mentioned from D3 and GC to GMU.
Second?
We have a motion by Councilmember Kitchen, a second by Councilmember Adams. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Next, we are on to Section D. Are there any questions of the mayor from the City Council? We're glad to have both Chief of Staff Patrick Leary and Deputy Chief of Staff David Litvak here tonight. Thank you very much for being here. Any questions? All right. Thank you for being here again. Next, we are on to agenda item D2. We'll be taking general comments tonight, and we'll call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. I have several in front of me. Just like the public hearings, I will call people two at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone. And the second person, please be ready to follow. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. As a reminder, please help create a civil and respectful meeting, which you all have done a great job of so far. So I won't repeat the rest of this. We are going to begin tonight with Cindy Cromer, followed by Douglas Cotan. Cotan, excuse me, Douglas.
Hi, I'm still Cindy Cromer. I attended your hearing on accessory dwelling units in September, and I listened to the comments. As people spoke, I identified 3 aspects of ADUs which no one was addressing, and I want to comment on those 3 issues tonight. There's a handout coming around with big, bold type for the 3 issues. First, no one seems to recognize that this proposal is the first assault on the holy grail of the 1995 zoning ordinance, single-family zoning. The only change to the low-density zoning classification since 1995 has been to increase the restrictions on infill development. That's the compatible infill ordinance. As Bill Wright, the city's former planning director, said, the 1995 ordinance was a massive downzoning. Despite all the changes to the ordinance, the low-density zones are the same after 22 years. Secondly, the city is proceeding just as it did with the FB-UN 1 and 2. This notion struck me as I was listening to people in September. It has been evaluated as a proposed change in one type of setting and then is proceeding to the city is proceeding to adopt the changes across all of the diverse neighborhoods of Salt Lake. What is good for the goose is rarely good for the gander. If it were, we would not need all 7 of you to represent Salt Lake's diverse communities. From my perspective as a behavioral scientist, you are overgeneralizing. Third, you seem to be comfortable with the type of housing that the city cannot inspect. Because ADUs will be in structures with less than 3 units and possibly owner-occupied, the city will not be able to inspect them for safety. This is thanks to the state legislature intervening in local government. We recognize, I think most of us, that ADUs will be constructed without permits, but even if they are constructed with permits, those inspections will be the last ones. So you are pursuing a type of housing which the city can't inspect, and as a landlord, I find your enthusiasm a bit troubling. So I'm not completely opposed to ADUs. I do view the proposal as an abrupt shift in the ordinance. The application citywide is not thoughtful, just as the citywide application of the FBUN zones was not. And finally, we appear to have lost sight of the importance of safety. It is not difficult to provide affordable housing. The challenge is to provide housing which is both affordable and safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cotan, followed by George Chapman.
Good evening, Mrs. Adams. All right. Getting down to serious business. I have been angry for the past few weeks. Yes, we are having a new elevator put in. The old one is being removed. And what has been making me angry is that when I walked out of the hallway on the 2nd floor into the stairwell area, there is no railing on the right-hand side, but there is a railing on this side, and I have had, and I've had to go down about the first 4 or 5 stairs, and I have almost fallen down. But when I get to about the 5th or 6th step, I can reach over to get a railing that's over here and try to use both my feet, my right foot down and my left foot down, and I am rather angry with the manager because I have repeatedly asked him if he would put a railing on the wall where the where the steps of the 2nd floor begins, and he has not done this. Yet he has a railing on both sides going up the stairs, and that's been the gist of my anger, and I know that time has run out, so I will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you. George Chapman next, followed by Michelle Goldberg.
I agree with everything Cindy said about affordable housing and ADUs, and I'm concerned that the ADUs are put in the affordable housing proposal you're going to approve on December 5th. You're running really fast, and where you should be pushing for affordable housing is on State Street and North Temple, but you're not doing that as far as I can tell. So if you want affordable housing, you can put thousands of units there within a year. All you have to do is open it up with form-based zoning on State Street right now. You don't even have to wait for an RDA. You can just put it on that area. So I'm encouraging you to do that. I want to encourage all of you to reach out to the Salt Lake County Council and Mayor to increase funding for jail, mental health, and prosecutors. Because right now you're getting a lot of time and effort by your police that are wasteful beyond belief, because they take people to jail and they're out within a couple of hours and they go and commit another crime. You have individuals that are attacking police again and again and again. And these are people that need treatment. They shouldn't be on the street. They're a threat to society, but the only way to keep them off the street is if you can convince Salt Lake County to appropriately and adequately fund public safety. You have a chance now. It's a small window. You have until December 5th. If you don't say anything, you're part of the problem. Please reach out to the county council and mayor and tell them that we need more support for our police and public safety. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Michelle Goldberg next, followed by Sylvia Nibley.
I'm Michelle Goldberg, the owner of Diggity Dog Resort on Paramount Avenue. And I'm just putting it out there again that I really feel an entrance to the shelter at 275 West High Street, moving to Paramount, will really destroy my business. Your preliminary plans, which are currently posted online, show the entrance on High Street. The shelter entrance should remain on High Street, where the facility will have far less impact on adjacent properties. There's already a 6-foot wall on the north side of High Street and nothing on the south side. It's really painful because it seems like whatever security plan you have or how much lighting you have, there's still going to be questionable traffic of hundreds of people daily. And so I'm asking your support when addressing the Planning Commission to keep the entrance on High Street. I also would like to request that there is more unity and understanding when it comes to addressing questions from those most affected by the shelter. I have received a variety of answers from a variety of city staffers. For example, someone told me that it was a lead issue that we can't move it, and that's not true. You can orient the building any way you want. I asked who was making the decision on where the entrance was, and I was told that it might be you, and I'm thinking that it might not be. So it's really hard to determine the veracity of anyone's statements when I'm getting 3 different answers. So I'm just requesting that everyone try and get on the same page, and I'd much rather have an I don't know or an I don't know, I'll find out, rather than telling me something that isn't true. So whether it's well-intentioned or not, that's just, moving forward, something I would appreciate. Thank you.
Sure. See either David Litvak or myself afterwards, we can talk about that particular issue. Either David Litvak or myself, we can talk about that particular issue, let you know. Yep, yeah, for you. So David Litvak or myself can talk to you afterwards, yeah. Sylvia Nibley next, thank you. And after Ms. Nibley, I don't have any more cards, so if you'd like to speak on anything, general comment tonight, please raise your hand, let the staff get you a card. Go ahead.
Yeah, hello, my name is Sylvia Nibley. I'm the founder of the Warm Springs Alliance. We're a nonprofit formed to protect the Warm Springs landmark site and hot springs, preserve the Wasatch Plunge building at 840 North Beck Street, and reestablish its role as a community gathering place where people of all walks of life come together to learn, to heal, connect, and collaborate. You've all received a bit of information about that, and we appreciate the meetings we're having with various people at the city, including some of you. At this point, there are about 2,500 people who've signed that petition asking the city to reject the current proposal for residential development and consider new proposals that restore the historic building while maintaining community use of the site. We understand there's a strong focus right now on housing. Of course, we understand that. But as you look at the best places for affordable housing, please remember there's only one Warm Springs. It's one of the most historically significant sites in the state, not just because of the Plunge building and its role in the early community here, but also for its background as a gathering place that extends into prehistory. In the hundreds of comments we've gathered from the public, the history, the potential benefit to the whole community, and the hot springs themselves are the main reasons the community at large is strongly opposed to housing at this site and strongly in favor of restoring Warm Springs to its original uses. We see that it has the potential to serve hundreds of thousands of people in this city, not just the few that might live in housing units there. The good news is we're not just angry citizens. We're not just saying no. We're not complaining or expecting you to figure out the best way to revitalize Warm Springs. We're working. In just 6 months, there are hundreds of us stepping up, working, collaborating. We are business people, urban planners, real estate experts, fundraisers, community leaders, visionaries, and professionals of all kinds willing to do the heavy lifting. And there are thousands more stepping up to support those who are actively working. Our vision is clear, our experience is deep, our commitment is strong, and I'm happy to share more information, answer any questions anytime. We look forward to positive collaboration with everyone involved for many years to come. Thanks for listening.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. We have no new business or unfinished business items to my knowledge. I will now look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda with the addition of item B10 from tonight's agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Penfold, a second by Councilmember Luke. Is there any discussion? Those in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? The motion passes. This concludes our formal council meeting tonight. Thank you all for your attendance at the meeting, and the meeting will stand adjourned.